Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. If you are an old school basketball fan, then you are on the right channel. If you're a sports fan, period, you're on the right channel. But for this video's sake, if you are a old school basketball fan and a Larry Bird fan, you are on the right channel. So, for the guys who know, I did a full game reaction video to when Larry Bird's Indiana State played Drake, and I'm doing full game Larry Bird reaction video that where I can become more familiar with Bird's game from watching it from a full game aspect opposed to just watching highlights. That way I can see the small things that makes Larry Bird so great. That way when I have these debates with people, I can pinpoint to this and I can be like, okay, this is the reason why I put Bird here. This is the reason why I would prefer a game of Bird's caliber opposed to a game of this person's caliber, just because they can jump high or they can do fancy dunks or they can, like that type of stuff. So basically what I did was I took key moments from those games that stood out to me, and I'm kind of going to just elaborate on some of those and just, for the most part, basically just give you guys an analysis of what I took from that game on Bird's end. Just 1 second. If you guys have been enjoying my videos, if you guys have been loving my content I've been putting out and you wanted to support, this is how you would do it. So you would scroll over to where you see the $ thanks. When you click on the $ thanks, it's going to give you like 4 different options. It's going to give you some preset options, but you can also go to more and give whatever you're willing to give. There's no certain amount. Anything is appreciated. I just really appreciate you guys for supporting me. Thanks. Now back to the video. So first of all, one thing that that stood out to me about Bird in that game in particular is that, and for the guys who do want to watch that game, you can go watch that game and then come back and watch this video, and then you'll have a better understanding of what I'm, me breaking it down and what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Unless you just are an ultimate Bird fan and you already remember that game because you was watching it live, and that could be the case. But one of the things that stood out to me early on was his playmaking. And I've did reaction videos on a lot of Larry Bird passes. Like I did the 50 assist reaction video. But it's like watching it in actual game, it really makes you respect it more because you're seeing a up close and personal version of how visual this guy was. You know what I mean? And then also it shows you his IQ. So I think that one thing that a lot of people overlook is the IQ aspect of sports, whether it's football or whether it's basketball, and that's knowing that's being a student of the game. And in order to be a champion, you have to be a student of the game because you have to find ways to be able to involve yourself other than just being an on-ball player and just being a scorer, but also finding ways to involve your teammates through facilitating, right? So he made a lot of tremendous passes. He threaded the needle on a lot of passes that he was making. It's very few players that can make those passes with that type of precision. Him being one, Magic being another, and if you want to correlate it in today's game, hate him or love him, LeBron does a phenomenal job at threading the needle on passes too. Also, one play, it's the hustle, right? It's the heart, it's the grit, it's the determination that he plays the game of basketball with. So it was one play where he got called for an offensive foul. In my opinion, it was a bullcrap offensive foul. But as the very next play after getting called for the offensive foul, he takes a charge. He sets a charge. But when he sets the charge, they don't call an offensive, they don't call a foul, period. They don't call blocking, nor do they call a charge. But in the process, the guy loses the ball, and now Indiana State gets another possession, right? So they cheated them. I would say they cheated. They took potential 2 points away from them calling that offensive foul. But Bird he put his team back in position to get those 2 points back from setting that charge, even though they didn't call it. But it's just things that stick out. Like I say, you don't see your best player on the team, your star player, especially in today's game, doing the down and dirty things like that. Diving for loose balls. Sorry about that. Diving for loose balls, setting charges, setting picks, crashing the boards, offensive end. You don't see a lot of players in today's league, especially your stars, doing that. So that's what stood out today for me. Another one was Bird makes great pass. So another play was when Bird made, and this was what I was saying too, Bird is the same guy from Indiana State to the Celtics, because you got to think about it, there was a 1 year gap when he left Indiana State and got beat by Magic in the final, in the NCAA championship, but goes and turned the Celtics season around in 1 year to a 60-some plus win team. So I say to myself, what was it? And the reason why Bird might not have had the same success or might have not been putting up the same type of numbers that he was in NBA opposed to college was that I noticed that even when I was watching the Pizza Hut Classic game, a lot of passes Bird was putting on the money. A lot of times they just couldn't finish. So if you're not watching the full game, you're not realizing that Bird is putting these guys in position to score. He's putting these guys in position to make plays. They're just not capitalizing. So when you put that type of playmaking on the team where you have guys that can capitalize off of those opportunities, the Kevin McHale's, the Robert Parishes, the DJs, all of those guys, then you get the results that you got. So it was like Bird was the same guy then. Now, obviously, yeah, over time as he continued to get older and more mentally mature in terms of the game, he becomes a different level player. But I'm just saying, looking from seeing what I've seen from him in those in his games in college, from the 2 games I did watch, a lot of times his teammates just couldn't finish, and that wasn't necessarily a mark on him. One thing that stands out to me too, and I noticed that even from watching highlights, but really even more so now from watching the full games, is that one of Bird aspect of game, a vital part of Bird's game, and I don't know if a lot of people pay attention to this, is his off-ball movement. So if you look at Steph Curry in today's game, right? Steph Curry is dangerous on ball, off ball. For anybody who may not know basketball terminology, off ball means when you're on the offensive side of the ball and whoever the point guard has the ball and you're the shooting guard, you're moving around trying to get open so you can get the ball, or if you orchestrate running plays to get in your position to get the ball to get it to somebody else. That's off ball. On ball is when you actively have the ball in your hand and you're having to visually see guys and make plays yourself, right? So a lot of guys aren't effective off the ball. And a lot of them are only effective on the ball when they're scoring. James Harden being one of them. He's not a playmaker. He's not a facilitator. That's just not what he does. But if you look at Bird is very lethal off the ball because he's constantly moving. But one of the things that stands out to me too is that when you look at Curry, a lot of Curry off-ball movement leads to opportunity scoring, leads to 3-pointers, leads to whatever the case may be. And not saying that he can't do it, but one of the things that stood out to me about Bird, a lot of his off-ball movements led to him just making the assist. Him getting in this position and getting the ball to this person right here. But it also led to him being able to score points as well. So it's like, even when you look at that game, the first half, Bird didn't really do too much on the offensive end. I'm talking about in terms of just trying to be extra and saying, hey, give me the ball, let me force something. He just stayed patient, calm. He let the game come to him. But it's like looking at Bird, it's almost like watching him in slow motion, and not saying that he plays the game slow. I'm just saying that it's like he slows the game down. When everybody else is playing the game at 100 miles per hour, he's playing the game at 5 miles per hour. But it's a calculated 5 miles per hour. He's seeing things that the average person don't see. When you see some of the assists that this guy was making, they pass the ball, he volleyball tapping to this person right there. That's wide open. And it's like how you knew that he was going to be open. It's almost like you can see the future. But then even when you look at some of the passes that he was making, like I say, playing with Bird, you got to have eyes in the front, side, back, and top of your head, because you just never know when you're going to get the ball and how you're going to get the ball. So his playmaking in that game to me was very next level, but as well as his off-ball movement. Also, one thing that stands out to me too, and this is for anybody who says that, oh, he doesn't play in the paint. If you go back and look at that game, even over the course of his career, but if you go back and look at that game specifically, Bird had a lot of key offensive rebounds. One of the offensive rebounds led to points, him going to the free throw line from being fouled. Also, he had some very vital defensive plays and defensive rebounds. So, that's an aspect that I feel like is overlooked, but that's for people who don't really know anything about basketball or who are not seeking the knowledge to want to learn about Larry Bird, is just saying, okay, this. But I think that in that game, he was more of a threat passing, you know what I mean? And he was scoring, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like a lot of his, to me, a lot of plays that stood out to me was his playmaking, his vision that he had. Obviously, we all know Bird can shoot the ball. We know Bird can score the ball. That's never in question, I would assume. But looking at just how he was making them plays were things that stood out to me. And then, like I say, man, just things like as simple as him taking charges, man. Like, those are the down and dirty things that a lot of stars do not want to do. And Bird had no problem with doing the things that the average person wouldn't want to do. But then also, that's an infectious mentality, because when you got your leader doing those things, it makes you want to do it. Because one thing you can't say, well, while I'm doing it and he not having to do it. Bird led through example. He led by doing. And that's something that, is a very respectable thing that I amend to anybody who was out there and in position of power as Bird and some of these, star players, that you lead through example, not necessarily just you physically saying something or verbally saying something all the time, I might add on. But that is something that I wanted to get into more. And when I do other full game reactions, I'm not gonna just do Larry Bird. I'm gonna do Mike. I'm gonna do a lot of other players. I want to be able to dive into the analysts and show, highlight an aspect of people's game that is very overlooked and very underrated. And I feel like Larry Bird game as a whole is very underrated just because a lot of people don't go back and watch. They just see the camera footage and they say, okay, oh, he ain't nobody. But if you go back and look, and it's like even in that game I stated, when they were showing that one of the guys from Drake, they was like all he needed was just that screen and just a little space to get the shot off. That's the same thing Steph Curry does. All Steph Curry needs is just this much space. So the game of basketball does not change. It's the same thing. Now the way it's played might be played a little bit different. It might be played a little bit more athletically than it was back then. But for the most part, it's all the same thing. So the same stuff that you're seeing today was the same stuff that was being did back then. If you go back and do your education on it, you'll kind of understand it. But that is it for this video, man. If you guys did enjoy this video, and if you guys did enjoy this breakdown, man, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, or if you're watching my videos for whatever reason and you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. When you hit that subscribe button, man, make sure that you got that click that notification bell and put it on, because man, you do not want to miss any uploads. Because just like I say in each and every video, just like the GOAT Drizzy Drake say, man, I'm coming back to back with these videos. I'll see y'all in the next video.